Check, check. Okay, guys, welcome to the beginner's course. We're going to jump right in here and start to go over the basic bare essentials that you need to start thinking about as a beginner. But what I'm really directing this towards is longevity. I understand that we all need to make our money and the things that we spend our money on stretch. And I have become, after about 10 to 15 years, very good at this. And I'm going to try to throw as much as I can at you based on what I actually use so that you can more or less follow along. This video, and I know this kind of kills the video to a degree, but just to be totally transparent, this video is being recorded in the summer of 2020, and a lot of what I'm going to show you I have purchased in the last 2 years, but we'll talk about why that's sort of relevant and also irrelevant as we move on in the video. So first things first, back probably almost 2 years ago to the day, back in 2018, about midsummer, I went ahead and replaced my Mac Pro, super old Mac Pro, probably 10 years old. It just wasn't running smooth anymore, and I couldn't produce more than probably 8 tracks inside of Ableton without the thing getting all clogged up, and just, it was a mess. So a buddy of mine at the place that I was DJing at the time, he was a server there. He knew a lot about tech, and he said, dude, why don't you just build your own gaming laptop? And I see a lot of people on the forums talk about this, like on the Ableton forums on Facebook and all over the place online. You know, should I go for Mac? Should I go for PC? And one thing I can say is I'm so thankful that I met this guy, even though he was kind of a jerk in other ways. He was very knowledgeable in this aspect, and he was smack on with his suggestion on getting a gaming computer. In this case, I'm talking about a tower, but I eventually also got a gaming laptop, which we will go over as well. So he said, for what Apple is going to charge you, you could build a gaming PC tower, you know, that doesn't travel. It sits in your bedroom or your living room for like 1/3 of the price, and it's 10 times as powerful, has way more USB outlets, and it's just a much better machine for 1/3 of the price. And I did that. I took his advice after some research, and he has been absolutely right. The thing runs beautifully, even now after 2 years. In fact, not only do I use it for major production work, video work, graphic design work, but I also use it as my main source of TV. Instead of having it hooked up to a computer monitor, I have it hooked up to a huge, whatever this is here, a 56-inch big screen TV. And I have my recording studio speakers going through my audio interface, which we will talk about if you don't know what that is. So basically, anytime I'm watching TV, I have to have my tower, my PC, my gaming PC tower on, but it comes through my recording studio speakers, which is great. It's on a big screen. I've got access to any channel that I have a subscription to, whether it be Netflix, YouTube, CBS, NBC, Hulu, anything that you have a subscription to, you can watch through your computer, of course, through your internet plan. And then, of course, too, when I'm not watching TV, I'm producing on a super big screen and through my recording studio speakers. So my studio is in my living room. But let's get back to how this all started and what you need to buy. So what you were looking at is quite literally the orders I placed back in 2018 to build my computer. So, and for the most part, of course, you know, at some point technology will probably make this video completely irrelevant, but I think for the most part, this is just general computer building. I mean, whether you're building a computer for gaming or audio work, video editing, or just because you want to build a computer, the components that I'm about to show you are more or less unchanging. But the one caveat that I will throw at you for what we are doing, which is audio work mostly, or let's say media work, audio, video, graphic design, all the kind of components that you need to begin to build a DJ production career, as well as branding around that. A lot of this stuff is kind of pushed towards the gaming community, and I'm not a real big gamer, but I found out that basically gaming is pretty darn demanding on machines, computers. So as a result, that's pretty much the best corner for the audio guys and girls to run to and build their machines based off of, because of the demand that gaming puts on these machines. Audio will be absolutely fine in that corner, and he was right about that. So let's jump right into it here. You can see right here, this is one of the hard drives that I ended up buying for the computer. I do believe that this was the, I can't remember exactly what he called it, but this is basically the main hard drive. This is the one that will be, I believe he called it like my boot drive. This is what Windows operating system sits on. It's what Ableton sits on. It's what a lot of the main programs to run the computer or access sit on. That will become a lot more clear later on when I show you, according to his suggestion, what my second hard drive in the computer is for. This one is much smaller. I believe the second hard drive is 1 terabyte as opposed to 500 gigabytes. And that 1 terabyte hard drive is just, it's a second hard drive in the machine. And I think the machine can actually hold 4 hard drives. So that backup drive is basically for things that don't operate like software. So what do I mean by that? Kind of, if you will, static things like kick drum samples. Kick drum samples are not software. It's just a file, if you will. It's a sample. Pictures are another good example of that. Think of your backup hard drive as a closet. It's your storage space. This hard drive, your main drive, your boot drive, is going to hold Windows and your audio programs, but you don't want to bog down this drive with a ton of samples and pictures and other things that you still need, logos for your computer and for your branding. You put that on your backup drive. So we'll get more into that in a minute, but just for now, you can see it's the Samsung 850 EVO. Once again, this is about 2 years old, so look at what Samsung is doing right now. They may or may not have come out with something relevant for 2020 that you can get for a similar price. But just so you guys know, it's been 2 years and I have had no problems whatsoever with this. So the cool thing about that is, if you jump on Amazon and search out a Samsung 850 EVO in 2020 or 2021, whenever you're watching this, you're seeing this is what I paid for it in 2018. If you can find one in good shape that's used, you'll probably pay even less for it, and at least from my neck of the woods, I'm having no problems with it even after 2 years of use, heavy, hard use. So 130 in 2018, it's still running great in 2020. Find somebody who's selling one used in 2020 or 2021 or 2022, you'll probably get a much better deal on it, and it'll still run pretty good for you. Or if you have the cash to spend, get the updated version of this. So that's one thing to buy. Next thing to consider, and we're just going down the list here of what I bought. Let me just see here. This looks like this is, oh, okay, excuse me. So this actually is I think this is the backup drive. And then this guy, I think, let me just see here, 2 terabyte, yeah, desktop hard drive, 7,200 RPMs. That's something that's key too. Make sure that your hard drive that you're going to get, especially if it's, being taxed with heavy audio and video, usage, editing, creation, things of that nature. Make sure it's running at 7,200 RPMs. I think the lower grade is at like 5,000 RPMs, but you want to go for the 7,200 to keep things running smooth. That way you're not getting tripped up all the time. Now, you see how this one's the 2 terabyte. So, being that this is the 2 terabyte, much bigger than this one. So, I was correct in that this is the one that holds Windows, the actual operating system. This one is your closet. This is the one that's going to store your samples, your pictures, your logos, your video, things that you need but you don't want on the same hard drive as your operating system. You want to keep your operating system hard drive very clean and have as little on there as you possibly can. So this one's your closet. Definitely recommend getting this. I mean, for 50 bucks, none of the things that I'm showing you, even though they're 2 years old, am I having a problem with whatsoever. So just keep that in mind. Nothing that I'm showing you here is outdated as far as having issues with it or anything like that. I'm giving you direct access to the machine that I built, and after 2 years it's running just fine, and you can see exactly what I paid for it. So, and once again, don't be afraid to look at used. I think a lot of the stuff that I bought on here was used, and what probably would have been a $1,200 or $1,300, maybe even $1,500 machine ended up being just shy of $1,000. So I think maybe $850 or $950, somewhere around there. So buying used is something I highly recommend. Maybe other people wouldn't, but I buy used and I don't have a problem. It's also because companies like Amazon, at least for my experience, have a very good return policy and want to make sure that the buyer's happy. So it's highly unlikely you're going to buy stuff like this and get ripped off and not have the chance to make good on it. So even if you do have problems initially, you know, they'll make good on it usually. So, okay, what are we looking at here? This is a power supply for your computer. And keep in mind, guys, you can even hear from how I'm talking. I haven't looked at this in a while, and I am certainly not an expert computer builder, and even I was able to do this. I love tech. I love technology. I love this kind of stuff, but I am by no means a tech nerd or a computer geek to the point where I can just rattle off things and build computers all day. And even I was able to buy these parts, watch a YouTube video on how to put it all together, and do it just fine. So don't blow it out more than it needs to be blown out as far as this is hard, I can't do this, I don't know how. You know, they make these pieces and these kits fairly easy to put together, even for somebody who is nervous with it and an amateur like I was 2 years ago. So don't be worried about, you know, I can't build it. You can. It's really not a big deal. So once again, this is a power supply. This is how you plug your computer into the wall in order for it to get electricity and work. So none of the things that I am showing you here are skippable. Understand that. All of these things are either absolutely mandatory to buy or highly recommended if you're in this course and doing audio, which I assume every single one of you are. Not too many people are going to take this course and find my website and just looking to build a tower for basic TV watching or basic document, you know, schoolwork, typing and stuff. So all of this stuff is imperative in order to build a computer for audio work. And the cool thing is, if you game, you'll have a darn good computer as well for that. Okay, moving on. This is my RAM, okay, desktop memory. You can see here 8 gigabyte kit, $100 basically, DDR4. Just look at it, type it in. You can experiment and see if there's a newer version of this, but for $100, 8 gigabytes. I got my RAM. It was in 2 sticks of 4. So basically what you're seeing here, 2 sticks, and they're 4 each. 4 and 4. For $100, grab it, move on. Gaming, mid-tower gaming computer case. As I'm sure you can imagine, this is the physical case that's going to hold all of the guts, if you will. $40, look for it used. It does look really pretty at night. Like if I'm hanging out in the living room and all the lights are off, it has a really awesome glow to it. So that's just kind of a fun visual, plus it looks really cool. Super light too. I don't know if anybody else is like me in moving from Mac to PC, but my Mac Pro was like a freaking silver bulletproof tank. Super heavy, super hard to move. I never moved that thing without socks and shoes on, because if I would have dropped it on my foot, I would have broken a toe. This thing is about as light as a basic bag of flour that you would bake with from like a store. Super, super light. I was astounded at how light it was. So little perk there too, if you ever have to move it or lift it, when you pick it up to dust, which is very key as well, don't let the dust build up around these things. I can lift it with one hand easily, and I'm not a big dude. So, okay. This is the graphics card. This is the one thing, and I will repeat it again. This is the one thing that I realized that my buddy told me about that I really did not need. So right there, I saved $150 by returning this. I returned this because of my mild understanding of computers, and this is where sort of intuition steps in, and I talk a lot about that to beginners who are producers or becoming producers. Whether you like it or not, you're going to develop an education in sort of being a novice IT computer troubleshooting person. It's just because that which you want to do, music and production, runs on computers, and you will inevitably wake up one day and your computer's going to have a warning on it, or there's going to be an issue of some sort, and it will be, the first couple of times, completely earth-shattering to you. But it's not a big deal. You just look it up, you consult people, you figure out what you have to do, and usually it's something fairly small. And if it's something big, guess what? That's just the way it is. I like to tell people that this is like owning a car. Most of the time, it's no big deal. It's an oil change, or you replace your windshield wipers. These are things that are not a big deal, and you can pretty much go right down the street and get it done for you for less than $100. Sometimes it is a big deal, and then you have to decide, do you want to take it to somebody to be worked on, or do you want to just open it up and replace the part yourself? I highly recommend that you learn it yourself and do it yourself, because with the amount of free tutorials that there are on YouTube and how easy it is to open these machines up, obviously unplugged and off, and grounded, which a lot of the videos will talk about. We'll get into that later. And how easy it is to take these pieces, unclip them, and clip in the new piece and be done with it. A lot of this stuff is plug and play. It is not hard to work on computers. And so what they're going to charge you at big box stores like Best Buy is just not worth it when you can just look up on YouTube how to do it, follow along, unclip the piece, reclip the new piece, and plug it back in, and you're more or less done. The fear that has been built up around computers is completely unnecessary, I have found. If I can do it, I'm telling you, you can do it. So, back to the graphics card. The reason why I replaced or returned my graphics card and did not buy another one is because my friend, although he was, I would say, a pretty close to an expert as far as building towers, he was a gamer, and therefore he had no tolerance for an average looking screen, if you will. Here's the thing. I have watched countless movies on my tower on a 56-inch big screen TV, being about, I'm looking at it now, 20 feet away. I see no issues with it, even on a huge, huge, huge screen. I don't need to spend $150 for the sharpest graphics when, truth be told, I tested it with the graphics card in, then took the graphics card out. I looked, I really couldn't see a difference. And I'm not a big time gamer. I'm not doing major movie studio work editing. I just need to get on with making freaking tracks as a DJ producer. So needing to see Ableton in the most crisp way is not $150 worth of spending to me. Keep in mind what I said though. It's not like I returned this and Ableton looks all fuzzy and movies look all pixelated and things don't look good. I couldn't even see a difference between buying this better graphics card versus what naturally just comes in the machine itself. So there's no need to upgrade from the general regular graphics card that is in the machine to some monster of a graphics card when I can't even see the difference. So I bought this, I tried it, I saw no difference, no better quality. I've watched countless movies, and I'm not a major studio editor, so I don't need the unseeable difference. I almost like to compare this to maybe people who don't have a super refined palate for, I don't know, let's just say desserts or cookies that you buy at a basic big box store bakery versus what you'll buy at some artisan bakery. Is there a difference? I'm sure there is, but for everyday basic celebrations like a party that you're going to, the cookies that you're going to buy or the beer that you're going to buy for a big party, it's just not necessary to overspend on better cookies or better beer. It's way more expensive. Maybe they do taste better or have better quality ingredients, but for me, $150, it just wasn't worth it. So I returned it. I never looked back. I never missed it. Now, moving on to other essential things that I did not return, because that was the only thing that I returned. That was the only thing I would say was something you could throw away and not buy, which I ended up doing that, and it's been fine. $28, so let's round up, $30. A fan, a CPU cooler fan. This is just like everything else I'm showing you here, no compromise. It's a must buy. Otherwise, your computer's going to overheat, and you're going to spend a lot of money to basically overheat a machine probably in less than 24 hours, and you cost yourself a lot of money. So don't look at any of these parts and think that they're expendable. You need a fan in your machine, and I'm sure those of you who probably know more about computers that are watching this understand that and are laughing right now. There's no compromise. Moving back down to other things that I had to buy. An i7, okay, 7th generation Intel Core desktop processor. Let's talk about this for a minute. I really did not understand when I was talking to my buddy initially about this, why my Mac Pro was so screwed. I said, buddy, I've got all of my RAM maxed out on this thing. I mean, the biggest, bulkiest RAM you could find, super expensive. I had it all maxed out. I couldn't understand why the machine wasn't working well. I had a ton of hard drive space. I did not understand what was going on. If I had a ton of RAM, best quality, highest capacity, and a ton of hard drives, best quality, highest capacity, what was going on? And he said, dude, it's simple. The amount of RAM capacity-wise and the amount of hard drive capacity-wise, and what I'm about to tell you, this is the gold for this course. What you paid for this course, this is the gold right here. If nothing else, this is your money back right here. He said, it's your processor, bro. Your processor is 10 years old. And he said, by the time you get inside of an Apple machine and try to replace it, he said, dude, PCs are meant to be worked on. They're meant to easily be opened up, unclip it, reclip it, all kinds of different parts. It's plug and play, and you're done. You're done within an hour, and you're back on track to making music. He said, your processor and your Mac Pro is so old, it can't keep up with the demands of you as more or less at that point a professional producer. You're producing, you're mixing, you're mastering, you're doing work for other people. Dude, you're in the Stone Age with that processor. It doesn't matter how good your RAM or hard drive is. You can have less good of RAM and less good hard drives, but a better processor, and it'll make the world of difference. And he said, dude, a lot of people get this wrong. They get strung out on how good of RAM or hard drives they have, but they forget it's all chained to that processor. Screw the amount of hard drive space and the quality of your RAM and amount of your RAM. All of that can be downgraded. Save that money and dump it into a great processor, and you'll have way less problems. He said if your Apple were easier to work on, if Apple machines were made more user-friendly to get in there and replace processors, he said all you'd have to do is spend a couple hundred and you'd have a completely different feeling machine. So, but you can't with Apple, so that's why I'm telling you to go with gaming PC towers. And he was right. The second that I upgraded the whole thing, but this Intel 7th generation Intel Core desktop processor i7 7700K, this is king. This is queen. This, when updated, now for 2 years, handles everything that I throw at it. Professional production sessions, editing my own videos and content, photos and logos, watching movies, TV shows, cartoons, just turning the darn thing on to have music blasting through the house while I clean. I've had no problems. My friends, I will tell you again, if your processor is not worthy, is not good, is not current, or fairly current, you are kidding yourself with a machine, not understanding why your productions can't, or your Ableton or whatever, FL Studio sessions can't be, 60, 70, 80 tracks without your machine getting clogged up and not being able to run them. Look at your processor before you do anything else. You have to have a phenomenal processor. This, some things on the machine you'll put in and forget about, like your fan, even though it's ultra important. It's a $30 piece that keeps everything cool. You don't think about that a lot. But this, you want to talk about directly seeing where your money goes, a processor. Ableton's not running good. You can't make a session with more than 20 tracks, processor. You can't edit video without it getting all glitchy and your computer freezing up on you, processor. This has to be phenomenal. Otherwise, you're wasting your time. So $286, let's just round that up to $300. That was one of the more expensive buys, but absolutely necessary. And I'll never look back with Apple unless they do some major changes and PC really falls into, getting greedy or something. But right here, that was the difference maker right there. No compromise. I think even now the i8 is out, which I think is on the laptop that I'm running this video on right now. Go for the best processor that you can possibly buy, because it'll give you years worth of quality. Moving on, motherboard. Even if you don't know computers, I'm sure that word right there, motherboard, you understand is pretty darn important. You can see what I went for right here. MSI Performing Gaming Intel, DDR4, HDMI, USB 3, motherboard. Yeah, you have to have a phenomenal motherboard. And once again, kind of the key, the trending kind of words throughout this video are gaming. Get yourself something that's good for gaming, and you more or less are on the right path. Now, I didn't say get yourself something that's good for gaming 10 years ago. you're going to have to somewhat stay relevant. A lot of this stuff was used in 2018, and now in 2020 it's still fine. So it's not like you have to buy absolutely brand new top of the line, but I'd get as close to that as money can get you, and you'll be okay. Even back then, this was not top of the line. It was used, and not only was it used, but it was probably 6 months to a year outdated, but still running fine in 2020. Motherboard, no compromise, get yourself one. I think that's it. At this point, yeah, I mean, this was not necessary. This was part of a different buy. Obviously, the shirt is not necessary. And, yeah, that is it for everything else. So, going back over it quickly, motherboard, awesome processor, a fan to cool everything. Graphics card, I'll leave that one up to you. That's personal preference. If you're super picky and you feel you can see the difference, well, good on you, but I could not, and that was $150 that I saved and dumped into other things that were actually necessary. You need a case, obviously, to house all of these things. Some RAM, for sure. A power supply to take power out of your wall and feed into your computer. A back kind of storage hard drive, pretty darn necessary if you're a producer, and a boot drive to hold your operating system and your DAW so that the entire computer can boot up and turn on and function. Aside from that, the only other thing I'd like to talk about is jumping on eBay and buying yourself Windows 10 or whatever Windows is current. With Windows and all of these pieces that we talked about here, you want to make sure that they are compatible. Generally speaking, if you're generally buying up-to-date pieces of hard drives and processors, things of that nature, so up-to-date for me is, I'd say, less than 2 years old. You want to make sure that your Windows that you buy, your operating system, is generally up-to-date and compatible as well. So what I mean by that is I went with Windows 10. I made sure that everything that I bought was compatible with it, and generally speaking, it was, because everything was fairly new. I'm not even going to lie, on eBay, I had a friend suggest to me that you can buy Windows 10 on eBay for like 99 cents. I took the risk and did it, and it's as good as new. I've had no problems with it whatsoever. So I bought Windows 10 off of eBay for 99 cents, and you know, although the thought of it was risky because of all the pieces that I had just bought, I saved a ton of money with that, and the person that I bought it from even guarantees helping you install it if need be, and guaranteed that if there was anything wrong, that they would give you your money back. Now, granted, it was only 99 cents, but the reviews were great. You know, great claims like I'll help you install it and we'll even give you your money back. For me, I was crazy and I tried it, and I have not regretted it one bit. No problems with this tower whatsoever, with the operating system, software, or hardware. You know, things like we just went over that you have to buy in order to have a computer and build it and have it function correctly. So I'm literally suggesting to you what I did. It worked for me. No problems. Now, aside from a tower, in the next video, we're going to go over 2 other things that are pretty key. So stick with me on that, and then you can kind of see the options that you can decide to run with. So thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you in the next video.